Okay, well, I've been having quite a close look at this Columbus Model 90 radio, and it seems that over the years quite a number of alterations or modifications have been made to it. Obviously that power transformer has been replaced at some point. It's not the original. I was wondering what this little arm thing up here was, but I discovered that on the original power transformer this was braced across to the top of the transformer, which was mounted this way, and that stopped the front panel from shaking in and out or flexing. So I might see if we can reinstate that somehow. These two filter caps have been removed at some point from the circuit. They're just cosmetic now at this point. And interestingly, I don't know whether this was built like this or whether it was modified. If it was modified, it was a long time ago and they used exactly the same soldering technique and construction as the original. So I'm thinking it may possibly have been original. This is actually a 6SK7 instead of a 6J7. In the audio amp, which then feeds a 6F6, and this is actually a 6F6. The 5Y3 is correct. This EBF32 should work in this location. It is a double diode pentode, similar to what would have been in there, but not the same. Moving around, this tube I have not checked to see whether it is actually compatible in that position or not. It is not, according to the schematic, the correct number, but we shall see. And there's another 6SK7 in the first IF position, so we'll find out what's going on with that. Now what makes me wonder if these were actually used originally from the factory, obviously not these ones, these have been replaced, but ones like these, is that you can see down there is the hole for a top cap grid connection, just like this one here. And I can't see any evidence that that was ever actually there. The cable that goes to the grid on this tube and on this tube as well, which also has a hole for the cable down here, they're soldered to the sockets and they look like original solder. So that's interesting. I'm thinking possibly when this was made they may have had a shortage of the design tube and had to adjust the design on the fly pretty much. Now the customer did say that this radio was working fine, so that makes me think that it has to have been modified and be working with those tubes in it. So that's interesting. On the underside, let's have a look under here now. Excuse me for a second. There we go. Try not to break everything. So obviously the filter caps have been replaced. They should be, well, that one should be an 8 microfarad. I believe that one should be as well. There's no fuse, so that goes directly to the power switch and straight into the transformer. So we'll be sorting that out. So this is what I was talking about up here on the first IF. So pin 4 on this is the grid input, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's, let me get a pointer thing, if I can find one. Here we go. So that is this pin here. That doesn't look like it's ever been resoldered. Looks pretty original to me. And then down here on the first audio, it's a little bit hard to see. Also on pin 4, which is, let me see, where is it? Here. No, I beg your pardon, it's here. Let me see, where are we? It's hard to see in this light. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I beg your pardon, it is here. I was right the first time. That connection, which you might be able to see a hint of a black wire behind it going up this way, that is the grid connection on that job, so that does not look like it's ever been changed. And you can see the hole there where the grid cap wire was originally intended to go, just there. So I'm thinking this radio was originally built with 6 SK7 tubes in it. I could be wrong, but interesting. The layout in the power supply seems to be reasonably as per the schematic. You can see there, that's the bottom of one of the electrolytic caps, can caps, which has been disconnected, as has that one there. It's just used as a terminal post now. So at least they did that and didn't just put the new caps in parallel, which is going to be doomed to failure. And the tone control stack. I popped out one of these electrolytic caps to have a look and see if I could read what the value was on it, and surprise surprise, no I can't. Here it is. It's completely rubbed away or faded, degraded. So I do have a schematic which gives me some idea of what it should be, but I doubt it's particularly correct. So we're going to have to pretty much make that up as we go along. Yum. Electrolytic goo. Enough of that. I can't see any evidence that any of the resistors have ever been replaced. So we'll be going through and checking all of those, all the old dog bones. A couple of roundies. One cap there has been replaced at some point. Lots of work. Oh, what's that? Okay. You can see also the banks of little trimmer caps used for setting up all the different bands. This is a multi-band receiver. I think it's 5 bands that it does. And in fact behind them, those trimmers there, you can see the coils for all the various bands, 6 of them. So next order of business is to start finding out what parts I need to order. I'm going to stick with the current tube lineup for now. Whether I decide to return it to its intended tube lineup or work with what's in it and hope that it works, we'll sort of determine that as we go along. But for now, yep, we're just going to start replacing caps and testing resistors, tracing out the circuit, making sure it actually is something similar to the schematic, and we'll go from there. I did test the power transformer just briefly on the Variac, and that seems to be, at least on the primary side and secondary high tension side, seems to be fine. Generated a high voltage, no worries at all. So that's good news.